Today I thought we'd do something different that I'm calling Unsolicited Custom Magic Reviews, starting with some cards by a guy called Chrosis on DeviantArt. These were published in 2007, which I should add, and we'll start with Slither King. Now, this was done after Kamigawa, so there's really no excuse for Creature Slither Wizard Legend. He costs a Wooburg, pretty standard for a legendary Slither. 7/7, so far so fine. The frame has the horizontal Wooburg gradient, which I kind of hate, and wizards don't use, so you're going to lose some points there. Now let's go through the abilities. So, first ability, 4. Target creature becomes a Slither until end of turn. All Slithers gain the abilities of that creature. So, this was done before Amoeboid Changeling, so the first half, well, a bit overcosted for what Amoeboid Changeling does. That predicted the future a little bit there. The second half, all Slithers gain the abilities of that creature. That would never get printed as is, because there's just too many things that would break. Like, that includes a load of characteristic defining abilities, which could get messy, and as written, that ability would never get printed. Maybe they'd include activated abilities of that thing, or maybe they'd list some keywords that it could get, but they'd never just say all abilities outright. The second ability, tap and X, which is kind of a weird way of doing it. They would do comma between those things. Tap and X, put a Slither from your hand with converted mana cost X or less into play. I kind of feel like that second ability is just tap the dude. You've already played, unless you've cheated him out, you've already played a Wooburg anyway, so you presumably got access to all the mana. So this does you nothing. I guess you could make it better by saying you may spend mana as though it was mana of any colour to cast Slither spells. That would be that would give you some mana fixing, I guess. But now, the artwork is kind of a little bit just a Predator, but also so were the M15 Slithers, so this card foretold a lot of things to come, I guess you could also say. So here's how I'd fix him. So, as you can see, I've changed the type line to be Legendary Creature Slither Wizard, as it should have been even when this was designed. And then I've swapped the two abilities around because static abilities generally come before activated abilities. So we've got, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any colour to cast Slither spells. Fair enough. Okay, that's the spirit of the last ability, but a bit more useful. And then I've kept the activation cost of this one the same, even though, I guess there's arguments that it could be lower or whatever. If you compare it to Havengul Lich, that's 1, but you have to cast it, and then you get the activated abilities on it, and the activated abilities are only on the Havengul Lich. But in this case, we have 4 mana. Target creature becomes a Slither in addition to its other types until end of turn. Other Slither creatures gain all activated abilities of that creature until end of turn. Because one thing I also noticed on the original wording is it didn't specify an end time for the Slithers gaining those abilities, and that would have been a lot of bookkeeping. As it is, this is already probably infinite combo bait. So yeah, that's my fixed version of that. Anyway, moving on. Next we have Arcbound Slither. 3 mana, artifact creature Slither. All Slithers have modular 1/0/0. So I think this is kind of massively overcosted. There's some argument to be had as to whether or not 1 is fine, or if that's a bit too pushed, or if it should be 2. But I think you can get away with 1. Here's how I'd fix it. 1 mana, and that's the only functional change. I changed it to be Module 1 and other Slither creatures have Modular 1 because it reads better on the reminder text. Otherwise, you have to word the reminder text in third person and it starts to sound a little bit weird. So it's easier to just say Modular 1, other Slither creatures have Modular 1. Technically strictly better than Arcbound Worker, but Arcbound Worker's a bit power creeped anyway at this point. So it's probably fine, I guess. Next, we have Vigilant Slither. It's 2 double white, creature Slither. All Slithers gain, this creature may block an additional creature. It's a 2/2. My first comment is, it's called Vigilant Slither, and it doesn't give slivers vigilance. I think that's the strongest opinion I have on this one, to be honest. So here's how I'd fix it. Drop a white from the mana cost, make it also give vigilance, and that's it. Next up, Dawn Slither. 7 mana artifact creature Slither, all slivers have Stunburst. There's this comment here that I want you to highlight, which rubs me the wrong way in so many ways. So to quote the comment, first, pretty much all existing slivers actually have the keyword they grant on top of granting it. Second, it needs to be sliver spells have Sunburst if you want it to actually function properly. So there's literally only 2 slivers that both have the ability and grant the ability separately. Yeah, so first, no, pretty much all slivers do not work that way. Second, sliver spells have Sunburst? No, it isn't. Because it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter for each colour of mana used to cast it. So that triggers when it enters the battlefield and checks when it was a spell. If it's sliver spells, then it has it while it's a spell, then it enters the battlefield and no longer has that ability and does nothing. So, yes, that's that comment which just rubbed me the wrong way. As for the card itself, 7's probably too much. Bump this down to at least a 5, maybe a 4. Hell, maybe even an X, but X might be a bit too spicy. But 7 is just too much. Next, Wrath Slither. Another Wooburg Slither. Creature Slither. 7/7 slivers may deal combat damage to defending player as though they were not blocked. It's basically you drop this and win the game. They would not print this ability these days. Also, on the templating, it's got the radial Wooburg frame, which I kind of think looks ugly, and it's a bit too much, and it makes the whole text box look red and the top half look Golgari, and if you're looking at any one of those parts in isolation, it just looks weird. Yes. Anyway, moving on. Draconic Slither. It is Shivan Dragon as a Slither, with an ugly ass card frame, but we'll set that aside. Yeah, I think this is fine. Wording's a bit off, but the effect is fine. No real comments? Yeah, I mean, maybe it shouldn't be a dragon, or it should make all the slivers dragons as well. Overall, it's fine. So, next we have Soldier of the Red Wing. It's a 0 mana legendary creature soldier with haste, flash, it's a 6/6, and at the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 4 and double red, and if you don't, you lose the game. It's just strictly better than, well, mostly strictly better than Pact of the Titan. 2007, when was Future Sight? April, May. So this predates Future Sight. I don't know when spoiler season for Future Sight started, but either this guy basically thought of the idea for Pact of the Titan and it just happened immediately afterwards, or he saw a spoiler for it and just made a better version of it. That's kind of all there is to say about that. Next up, we have Bucket Slither. 1 blue, creature Slither, 1/1. All slivers have buckets. I think this is perfect, no comments. Okay, no, I have like 2 comments. It should probably be a 1-drop. Let's be real. And the other comment is, do the buckets count as hats? And how good does this make Slither decks in Unfinity, Acorn, Hats Matter decks? I don't know enough about Unfinity to really say for sure on that, but other than that, yep, fine, capitalized Slither. Farron Slither. 2 and a blue for a 2/2 legendary creature Slither. All slivers gain +1/+1 banding and flanking. This one is a huge yikes. It's the largest yikes. It's so powerful for what it is. Aside from the fact that they're probably never going to print banding again, just because it is rules soup. But also, for those who haven't actually played with banding, banding's actually really good. Like, in any situation where you're doing creature combat, banding is just really good. The combats just kind of all go the way you want, combined with flanking. that combination just means you you auto-kill anything that the band blocks, because they've all got flanking, and they are blocked as a band. So this is too powerful on so many fronts. So this is how I'd fix it. I'd make it white, I'd make it a 1-1, I'd drop the banding, and I'd drop the legendary. And then it's fine, I guess? Banding and flanking. Okay, so this is the situation. You make a band of your slivers. It attacks. One creature blocks the band, and then gets -X, where X is the number of creatures in that band, because it's blocking all those creatures with flanking and just dies. That's just too good, I think. Next, we have Damned Slither. 6 red for a 6/4 Slither creature. When Damned Slither comes into play, all slivers take 1 damage. When a Slither enters play, all slivers take 1 damage. All slivers get tap. All non-Slither creatures and players take 1 damage. For an 8-drop, it's such a double-edged sword. Yeah, an 8-drop makes it the most expensive Slither. None of the damage has any attribution, so is the Slither dealing damage to itself? Is Damned Slither dealing the damage? Where's the damage coming from? Because at the moment it's just anonymous damage. Because I was about to say, things like Toxin Slither and the Death Touch Slither that I don't remember the name of, they would make it so that the slivers just touch themselves immediately and die. And, you know, most Slither decks have most slivers, because that's just how that goes. Especially good ones like that. And that's just going to have all the slivers kill themselves. So at that point, it's kind of an anti-Slither Slither, so it's a sideboard Slither. But for 8 mana, you've got better ways to nuke all the slivers, like a Blasphemous Act or something. Also, I think all slivers have even power and equal power and toughness. I don't think any of them have wonky power and toughness like that. Yeah, they all have equal power and toughness. So this being a 6/4 is, for that expensive, why not just make it a 6/6, or even whatever. Yeah, that last ability is hard to balance. Also, it doesn't attribute the damage. But I guess 8-drop for that, it probably wins you that game, or kills you, because it's all non-Slither creatures and players. So I guess non-Slither players. Are you a Slither? Maybe. And also, it doesn't have a set symbol, where all the others had a set symbol. Rip that guy, I guess. So this is my fixed version. It essentially just has the extra 2 toughness and doesn't have downside abilities, and has the main ability fixed. And also has the artist attribution, which the original was missing. I specifically worded it each player and each non-Slither permanent, because with the removal of the old player planeswalker damage redirecting and things just getting errated to say player and planeswalker, it's easier to just say each non-Slither permanent, because then it hits everything that can take damage. Doesn't stop it from just killing you, though, if you actually use it and don't have the most health. And then we have Glow Slither. 2 double blue for Slither creature, 1/2, again with the only from power and toughness. All slivers have tap, counter target spell unless its owner pays 1. First comment, other than the power and toughness being unequal, unless its owner pays 1. Not the controller of the spell. So if someone gains control over a spell and they use that ability on it, then another person has to pay mana or it's countered. And there's a bit of a mess. It'd also be all Slither creatures in these days. It's basically Patron Wizard for slivers. I don't think you'd want to give this effect to a Slither. It's just a bit too massively control-y. If you're playing a Slither deck, I don't think Slither control should be a thing. So how I'd fix this is I'd basically just make it Patron Wizard, but with less power and toughness. And so yeah, that was all the cards by Chrosis on DeviantArt. And if you want me to review your cards for whatever reason, send them my way and I'll see what I can do. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.